The massive crystal doors opened slowly, and Ambassador Park Dae-won walked into the largest room he had ever seen in his life. The ceiling rose so high that clouds actually formed near the top. 12 giant thrones sat in a half-circle, and on each throne sat a creature from a different world. Some had scales, some had tentacles. Some looked like nothing Dae-won could even describe. These were the rulers of the galaxy. They had controlled thousands of star systems for over 100,000 years. And today, they would decide if humanity deserved to exist. Dae-won wore his best suit. He had practiced his speech 100 times. Earth had only discovered how to travel faster than light 18 months ago. When they did, they found out they were not alone. The galaxy was full of life, full of civilizations. And all of them answered to the Galactic Council. Walking beside Dae-won was Lieutenant Kim Yuna. She was officially his assistant, but really she worked for military intelligence. She had sharp eyes that never stopped moving, watching everything. She had told Dae-won many times that this meeting felt wrong. The council had invited them too quickly. They had not answered any questions. They treated humans like insects. The chamber was cold and silent. Hundreds of alien observers sat in floating seats around the room, watching the two tiny humans walk toward the center. Some pointed at them and made sounds that might have been laughter. Dae-won stopped at a small circle on the floor. This was where he was supposed to stand. He looked up at the 12 rulers and tried to keep his heart steady. The tallest figure rose from the central throne. This was High Arbiter Velox, the leader of the council. He looked like a skeleton wrapped in gray skin, wearing long black robes covered in golden symbols. His eyes were empty holes that somehow still seemed to stare right through Dae-won. Velox spoke, and his voice echoed through the entire chamber like thunder. The creature before us represents the species called human. They come from a small planet called Earth, in the outer regions of the galaxy. They have been brought here to answer for their crimes. Dae-won blinked. Crimes. He had come here to establish peace, to open trade, to join the galactic community. Nobody had said anything about crimes. High Arbiter, Dae-won said, keeping his voice calm. I believe there has been some misunderstanding. Humanity comes in peace. We wish only to— Silence. The word hit Dae-won like a physical force. You do not speak unless ordered to speak. Yuna grabbed Dae-won's arm. Her hand was shaking, but not from fear, from anger. Velox continued reading from a glowing scroll that floated before him. Humanity is charged with unauthorized expansion into protected territory. They have harvested resources from 17 quarantined worlds. They have built settlements without permission. Most seriously, they have existed without council approval. A murmur went through the crowd. Several aliens nodded their heads in agreement. We did not know, Dae-won said, unable to stay quiet. Earth received no messages, no warnings. We did not even know the council existed until— Your ignorance is not our concern, Velox interrupted. The law is the law. All species must request permission to exist in council space. You did not. Therefore, you are criminals. All of you. Every human on every world. Dae-won felt ice in his stomach. He understood now. This was not a trial. This was not a meeting. This was an execution. The council will now vote, Velox announced. Is the human species guilty? One by one, the 12 rulers spoke. Guilty, guilty, guilty. 12 times the word rang out. Not a single voice spoke for humanity. The sentence is death, Velox declared. The human ambassador will be executed immediately as a message to his species. The human fleet will then be destroyed. The human homeworld will be sterilized. The human species will be erased from existence. The crowd cheered. Yuna pulled out her hidden pistol, but before she could fire, Energy bindings wrapped around both humans. They could not move, could not run, could barely breathe. Guards began dragging Yuna away. She screamed and fought, but she was helpless against their strength. Day-Wan looked at his friend being taken away. He looked at the cheering crowd. He looked at the 12 rulers who had just sentenced his entire species to death without even listening to them. And he smiled. Because hidden in his collar was a small device, a beacon that could send a message faster than any ship could fly. He pressed it with his chin, and 3 words traveled across the stars to Earth. Annihilation Protocol authorized. Velox noticed the smile. You find your death amusing, creature? No, Day-Wan said calmly. I find yours amusing. You had a chance for peace. You could have had a friend. Instead, you chose to make an enemy, and you have no idea what you have just awakened. Velox laughed. It was a cold, empty sound. Brave words from a dying animal. He raised his hand. A beam of pure white energy shot from the ceiling. Ambassador Park Day-Wan, the first human to stand before the Galactic Council, turned to ash in less than a second. His ashes scattered across the floor of the chamber like gray snow. The crowd cheered again. In a small cell below the chamber, Lieutenant Kim Yuna felt the moment her friend died. She felt it in her bones, and she made a promise to herself, to Day-Wan, and to every human who had ever lived. The council would pay. Every single one of them would pay. She did not know how she would escape. She did not know how she would get home, but she knew one thing with absolute certainty. Earth was coming. And it would bring hell with it. Part 2. The Response. Deep beneath the mountains of Colorado, the most powerful people on Earth sat around a table made of cold steel. The room had no windows. The walls were 10 feet thick. This was the United Defense Command bunker, built to survive the end of the world. And right now, everyone in it was planning exactly that. General Cho Min-ho stood at the head of the table. He was 62 years old, with gray hair cut short and a face full of deep lines. He had fought in 3 wars. He had buried 2 sons. He had seen terrible things, but nothing had prepared him for this. On the screen behind him, the message played again. 3 words that had changed everything. Annihilation Protocol authorized. The room was silent. 20 of the most powerful military leaders on Earth watched the screen. They had all hoped this day would never come. They had all prayed that humanity's first contact with alien life would be peaceful. They had been wrong. Ambassador Park is dead, General Cho said, his voice flat and hard. Executed without trial, the Council has declared war on humanity. They plan to destroy Earth, kill every human being, wipe us from existence. Admiral Huang Taisun, commander of Earth's Starfleet, slammed his fist on the table. Then we fight. We have 300 ships. Our soldiers are the best trained in— 300 ships against 10,000, interrupted Commander Baiksuri, the head of intelligence. She was a small woman with cold eyes. The Council has ruled for 100,000 years. They have weapons we cannot even imagine. If we fight them directly, we lose. Then what do you suggest? Admiral Huang demanded. Surrender? Let them kill us? General Cho held up his hand for silence. There is another way. He pressed a button, and a new file appeared on the screen. It was marked with more warning symbols than anyone had ever seen on a single document. The title read, Annihilation Protocol, Omega Contingency. When we discovered faster-than-light travel, Cho explained, we also found something else, something hidden in the fabric of space itself, a type of energy that could convert matter from one form to another. Our scientists spent months studying it, and then they built this. The image changed to show a small metal sphere, no bigger than a basketball. We call it the Harvester, Cho continued. It looks simple. It is not. Once activated, it begins to eat. It eats rock, metal, water, air, and it uses what it eats to make copies of itself. Within days, one sphere becomes 100, Within weeks, 100 becomes 1,000,000. Within months, 1,000,000 becomes 1,000,000,000. It does not stop. It cannot be stopped. It will eat until there is nothing left to eat. The room was completely silent. Everyone understood what they were looking at. One harvester sphere can destroy an entire planet in 3 months, Cho said. A star system in 6 months. Left unchecked, it would spread from system to system, eating everything. In 50 years, it could sterilize the entire galaxy. Dr. Yoon Ji-hye, the chief scientist, looked sick. General, you cannot be serious. This weapon would kill everyone, not just the Council, everyone, including us. We have built 47 spheres, Cho said quietly. And yes, I am serious. The Council has left us no choice. They want to kill every human. We must show them that if we die, they die with us, all of them, every alien in the galaxy. The door opened, and a young woman walked in. She was bruised and bloody, her uniform torn, but she was alive. Lieutenant Kim Yuna had escaped. She walked straight to General Cho and handed him a data chip. "Intelligence on Council defenses," she said. Her voice was rough, broken. "Their military positions, their weapon systems, everything I could gather. And General—" She paused. "They laughed when they killed him. They cheered." Cho took the chip. He looked at the young woman who had just traveled across the galaxy with alien hunters chasing her. He saw the pain in her eyes, the rage, and he understood it perfectly. "Sit down, Lieutenant," he said gently. "You have done well. Ambassador Park would be proud." Yuna sat, but she did not cry. She had no tears left. Cho turned back to the room. "We will give them one chance. One. We will tell them what we have. We will show them what we can do. We will demand justice for Ambassador Park. If they refuse—" He looked at the image of the harvester on the screen. "Then God forgive us for what comes next." "What about our people?" asked Admiral Huang. "Colonies, stations. There are 2 million humans living beyond Earth." "We are already evacuating them," Commander Beck replied. "Everyone comes home. If the Council strikes, they strike only Earth. And Earth—" She almost smiled. "Earth has been preparing for this since the day we left our planet." General Cho nodded. "Ladies and gentlemen, humanity faces extinction. We did not ask for this war. We did not want it. But we will not run from it. We will not surrender. And we will not die quietly." He pressed another button. Across the planet, in secret bases and hidden bunkers, weapons began to activate. Ships began to launch. Soldiers began to move. "The Council thinks we are weak. They think we are primitive. They think they can kill us without consequences." His eyes grew hard. "Let us teach them how wrong they are." The war for humanity's survival had begun. High Arbiter Velux was eating his morning meal when every screen in his palace turned on by itself. He dropped his food in surprise. On the screen was a human woman wearing a military uniform. Behind her floated the blue and green ball called Earth. Across the galaxy, the same thing was happening. Every screen on every world controlled by the Council showed the same image. Billions of aliens stopped what they were doing and watched. No one had ever hacked the Council's communication system before. It was supposed to be impossible. The woman spoke. "I am Fleet Admiral Shin Yunbi of the United Earth Defense Force." Her voice was calm and cold, like winter wind. Her eyes were dark and showed no fear. She stood perfectly still, like a statue carved from stone. 3 days ago, you murdered Ambassador Park Dae-won. He came to you with open hands and peaceful words. He wanted friendship. He wanted cooperation. He wanted to build a future where humans and aliens could work together. She paused. The entire galaxy was listening. You killed him anyway. You called humanity vermin. You sentenced our entire species to death. You gave us no trial. You gave us no chance to speak. You simply decided that we should not exist. On the Council homeworlds, some aliens began to feel uncomfortable. A few looked away from their screens, but most watched with angry eyes. How dare this human speak to them this way? You made a mistake, Admiral Shin continued. A terrible mistake. You assumed humans were weak because we are young. You assumed we were primitive because we are new to space. You assumed we would accept death without fighting back. The image behind her changed. Now it showed Earth's orbital shipyards. Hundreds of warships floated in neat rows, their dark hulls covered in weapons. They did not look like council ships. They looked like something built by predators. In your arrogance, you never considered that we might be different from the other species you have crushed. You never wondered why humans spread so fast across the stars. You never asked how we built so much in so little time. Several council members leaned forward in their thrones. For the first time, they felt something they had not felt in thousands of years: doubt. Let me tell you about humanity, Admiral Shin said. We evolved on a harsh world. We fought for every meal. We survived ice ages and plagues and wars. We are not soft. We are not gentle. And when someone threatens our existence, we do not run. We do not hide. We fight. With everything we have. Until our last breath. She held up a small metal sphere. It looked harmless. Simple. But something about it made viewers feel cold. This is what we call a harvester. We built it in secret. We hoped we would never use it. We were wrong. The screen showed what a harvester could do. Simulations of planets being eaten, stars going dark, entire systems becoming nothing but clouds of hungry machines. We have 47 of these weapons. Each one can destroy a star system in 6 months. Together they can sterilize the galaxy in 50 years. Everything dies. Every world. Every species. Every living thing. Some viewers screamed. Others prayed to whatever gods they believed in. On the council station, High Arbiter Velix gripped his throne so hard that his fingers cracked. You now have a choice, Admiral Shin declared. Your first option is peace. Surrender the council members who voted for Ambassador Park's execution. Pay for your crime. Recognize humanity's right to exist. We will then destroy the harvesters and join the galactic community as equals. Her eyes hardened even further. Your second option is war. Attack Earth. Try to destroy us, and we will launch every harvester we have. Your homeworlds will be eaten first, then your colonies, then everything else. You will watch your civilizations die. And the last thing you will see before the end is Ambassador Park's face, smiling at you from whatever afterlife exists. She leaned forward and her voice dropped to almost a whisper. You have 30 days. 30 days to decide if the galaxy lives or dies. 30 days to admit you were wrong. 30 days to beg for mercy from the species you called vermin. The transmission flickered. Admiral Shin raised her hand in a gesture that might have been a salute. Choose wisely, because if you choose war, we will not stop. We will not negotiate. We will not show mercy. You will simply cease to exist, all of you, forever. The screen went black. For a long moment, the galaxy was silent. Then chaos erupted everywhere. On 1,000 worlds, people screamed and argued and demanded action. Some called for immediate surrender. Some called for Earth's destruction. Some simply stood in shock, unable to believe what they had just heard. On the council station, High Arbiter Velix recovered his composure. He called for order. He reminded everyone that humanity was still just one small species with a few hundred ships. He insisted that their threats were lies, tricks, desperate bluffs. We have ruled for 100,000 years, he declared. We have crushed 1,000 species that defied us. These humans are nothing. Their weapons are nothing. We will destroy them as easily as we destroyed all the others. The council voted. War. Unanimous once again. They would regret it. But by the time they understood their mistake, it would already be too late. The Council Armada was the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. 10,000 warships from 12 different species gathered together to crush one small world. They filled space like a swarm of angry insects, their weapons charged, their crews eager for blood. This would be easy, they told themselves. This would be quick. Humanity would burn, and the galaxy would forget they had ever existed. Fleet Commander Torvax stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the tiny blue planet in the distance. Earth, home of the humans. In a few hours, it would be nothing but ash and memory. "All ships report ready," his second officer announced. "We can begin the attack on your command." Torvax smiled. He had waited a long time for this moment. His species had conquered 100 worlds. Adding one more to the list would be... Every light on his bridge went dark. For 3 seconds, there was only blackness. Then emergency lights flickered on, casting everything in red. Torvax looked around in confusion. His crew was panicking. Screens were dead. Controls were frozen. The ship was completely powerless. "What happened?" he demanded. "Report." "Unknown, Commander," someone shouted back. "All systems are offline. Weapons, engines, life support, everything." Torvax grabbed a communication device. "All ships report status." Static. He tried again, more static. Then finally, a voice. "This is the Destroyer of Hope. We have lost all power." "This is the Vengeance of Stars. Same here. We cannot move." "This is the Pride of Velox. Our systems are completely dead." One by one, the reports came in. Every single ship in the Armada had lost power at exactly the same moment. 10,000 warships, floating helplessly in space, unable to move or fight or even run away. Then the screens came back on. But instead of showing navigation data or weapon systems, they showed a young human face. He was smiling. "Hello," the human said cheerfully. "My name is Lieutenant Commander Ojisiok. I am Earth's chief cyber warfare specialist, and I have some bad news for you." Torvax stared at the screen. "How are you doing this? This is impossible." "Actually, it is very possible," Jisiok replied. "You see, your species have been connected to each other for 100,000 years. Your ships, your stations, your planets all linked together by the same network. Very efficient, very convenient." He leaned closer to the screen. "Very easy to hack. We spent 18 months studying your systems," he continued. "Every signal you sent, we watched. Every code you used, we learned. And when your fleet arrived, we simply turned everything off." The young human shrugged. "Your weapons are offline. Your engines are locked. Your navigation is frozen. You cannot fight. You cannot flee. You are completely helpless." "You cannot," Torvax started. "Surrender," Jisiok interrupted, his smile fading. "Order your ships to surrender, now, or we start turning off life support. And I promise you, watching 10,000 crews slowly suffocate is not something I want to do. But I will do it if you force me." The surrender came quickly. 3,000 ships gave up within the first hour. Their crews were terrified, confused, completely unable to understand how they had lost before the battle even started. The mighty Council Armada, the greatest fleet in galactic history, defeated by a young man with a computer. But not everyone surrendered. A small group of Council loyalists had stayed offline, their ships running on backup systems that were not connected to the main network. 50 vessels, racing toward Earth with planet-killing weapons ready to fire. Admiral Shin Yunbi watched them come on her tactical display. She had expected this. Some enemies could not be reasoned with. Some enemies had to be shown. "Open a channel to Earth Defense Command," she ordered. "Tell General Cho we need authorization for Harvester 7. 30 seconds later, the answer came back. Authorization granted. The Harvester launched from a hidden platform on Mars. It was so small that the Council ships did not even see it. It flew past them, ignored, insignificant. Then it entered the Velox home system. High Arbiter Velox was commanding the Loyalist fleet himself. He would destroy Earth personally, he had sworn. He would watch the humans burn. He would, his communication officer screamed. On the screen, Velox watched as something impossible happened. A small metal sphere had landed on his homeworld's largest moon, and the moon was disappearing. Piece by piece, chunk by chunk, the moon was being eaten. In its place, more spheres appeared, hundreds of them. Then thousands, then millions. Within 6 hours, the moon was gone. The spheres spread to the planet itself. Velox watched his world die. He watched cities he had known since childhood vanish into clouds of hungry machines. He watched mountains crumble, oceans drain. The sky itself seemed to fall. 4 billion people lived on that planet. His family, his friends, his entire civilization, all gone in less than a day. "Call them," Velox whispered. His voice was broken. His eyes were empty. "Call the humans. Tell them we surrender. Tell them anything they want. Just make it stop." Admiral Shin received the surrender with a cold face. She felt no joy, no triumph, only a deep sadness for what had been necessary, for what humanity had become in order to survive. "Recall the harvester," she ordered quietly. "Admiral, it cannot be recalled once activated." "I know." She closed her eyes. "Let it finish, and pray that we never have to use another one." The galaxy had learned its lesson. The humans were not vermin. The humans were not weak. The humans were a species that would destroy everything, including themselves, rather than accept extinction, and that made them the most dangerous species in the universe. 1 year had passed since the war that changed everything. The galaxy was different now. The old council was gone, broken by its own arrogance. In its place stood something new, something that included humanity. Ambassador Kim Yuna walked through the halls of the rebuilt council chamber. She wore a simple black suit with a small pin on her collar. The pin showed Ambassador Park Dae-won's face. She never took it off. The chamber looked different now. The 12 giant thrones were gone. Instead, there was a round table where everyone sat as equals. 6 seats belonged to the old council species. 6 seats belonged to the new members. And the largest group of new members was humanity. Yuna remembered walking through this same room 1 year ago as a prisoner. She remembered watching her friend die. She remembered the laughter of the crowd. Now, she walked as one of the most powerful diplomats in the galaxy. But she did not feel powerful. She felt tired and sad and old, even though she was only 32. General Cho Minho had retired 3 months after the war ended. The weight of what he had ordered became too heavy to carry. 4 billion lives ended to save humanity. He could not forget them, could not forgive himself. He spent his days now running a foundation named after Ambassador Park. The foundation helped rebuild worlds damaged by war. It taught species to talk to each other instead of fight. It tried to make sure nothing like the Velox tragedy ever happened again. Admiral Shin Eunbi stayed in the military. Someone had to. She became Earth's Minister of Defense, responsible for protecting humanity and keeping the peace. She rarely smiled anymore. The woman who had threatened to burn the galaxy now spent her time making sure no one else ever had to make that choice. Lieutenant Commander Oh Jiseok became famous, the young hacker who defeated 10,000 ships with a keyboard. He did not want fame. He wanted to go home and see his family. But Earth needed him, so he stayed. He built new defense systems. He trained new cyber warfare teams. He made sure humanity would never be caught helpless again. Dr. Yoon Ji-hye led the effort to restore what the Harvester had destroyed. It would take centuries to rebuild the Velox system. The machines had eaten everything, but humanity would not leave that wound to fester. They would heal it slowly, one piece at a time, because that was what Ambassador Park would have wanted. Today was the one-year anniversary of the war's end. Representatives from across the galaxy had gathered to commemorate it. Some had come to celebrate victory, others had come to mourn. Most had come simply because they wanted to see what humanity would do next. Ambassador Kim Yuna stood at the center of the round table. Every eye in the room was on her. 1 year ago, she began, this room was a place of cruelty, a place where the powerful crushed the weak, a place where my friend, a good man who wanted only peace, was murdered for the crime of being human. The room was completely silent. You learned something that day. You learned that humanity will not accept death quietly. You learned that we will fight, with everything we have, against anyone who tries to destroy us. You learned to fear us. She paused. Several alien delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats. But fear is not enough. Fear creates enemies. Fear breeds hate. Fear leads to more war, more death, more suffering. If all we have taught you is fear, then we have failed. Yuna looked down at the pin on her collar, at the face of her dead friend. Ambassador Park did not want war. He did not want revenge. He wanted something much harder. He wanted peace, real peace, the kind that comes from understanding, not from terror. The kind that comes from cooperation, not from dominance. She looked up again, meeting the eyes of every representative at the table. We proved we could destroy you. We proved we could end every civilization in the galaxy. That power is still ours. The harvesters still exist, hidden away, waiting. And they will stay hidden, as long as the galaxy remains at peace. But that is not enough. Power is nothing without purpose. Strength is meaningless without compassion. Ambassador Park understood that. He died still believing it. Yuna extended her hand toward the table. I am asking you to believe it too. I am asking you to help us build a galaxy where no species faces extinction simply for existing, where young and old civilizations can learn from each other, where the strong protect the weak instead of crushing them. The old council ruled through fear and power. The new council must lead through cooperation and hope. It will be harder. It will take longer. There will be setbacks and failures and moments when we want to give up. But if we succeed, we will have created something that has never existed before. A galaxy united not by conquest, but by choice. A community of species working together toward a future brighter than any of us could build alone. She smiled. It was a small smile, touched with sadness, but genuine. Help us. Help us honor the memory of everyone who died in this war. Help us prove that their deaths meant something. Help us make Ambassador Park's dream real. For a long moment, no one moved. Then the representative from the Torvac species stood. He walked to the center of the table and extended his own hand to meet Yuna's. We will try, he said. One by one, the other representatives followed. Hands of every shape and size reached toward the center. Some trembled, some hesitated. But in the end, they all reached out. Ambassador Kim Yuna looked at the circle of hands from 100 different worlds. She thought of Day One and wondered if he was watching somehow. Thank you, she whispered. All of you. Thank you. Outside the chamber, stars burned in the endless darkness of space. Somewhere among them, the harvesters waited, silent and hungry. But today, they would not be needed. Today, for the first time in galactic history, every species had chosen hope over fear. It was a small beginning, but all great journeys start with a single step, and humanity, the young species from the little blue planet, would lead the way.